It's been a few days since the unfortunate circumstances surrounding Anthony Joshua and what happened in Nigeria. I'll be honest, I am still trying to understand and process what happened. Of course, it was a massive shock to a lot of people. And so, look, first of all, I just want to say my condolences to the men that were unalived, and I wish Anthony Joshua all the best with his recovery and to dealing with a situation that, in my opinion, nobody should ever have to deal with. So I wish Joshua all the best. However, the conversation of whether Anthony Joshua will ever return to the ring or if he will fight Tyson Fury is still prevalent in boxing. People are talking about it. So I thought it'd be good to make this video, discuss it with you guys and see whether if you guys even care about this. Do you expect Joshua to come back? Do you see Joshua coming back? And, what would things look like for Anthony Joshua if he was ever to return back to boxing? So, a lot of people have had few things to say about it. And one particular article that I think is worth having a look at is one concerning Frank Warren, where he had a conversation with ITV. And I think the Daily News have reported on this. So it's an article on the Daily News which is titled, "Anthony Joshua may never fight again after losing his appetite for boxing in crash which unalived his friends," says Tyson Fury's manager Frank Warren in a message about mental health fears. So that was the article. And then when you go down, you can see Frank Warren saying that this is an awful time for everyone involved, and hopefully AJ has come out of it physically well, Frank Warren told ITV News. Frank Warren then went on to say, "But mentally is another issue. I don't even know if he will have the appetite to fight again or if he will fight again. That is something that only time will tell." So look, that was Frank Warren there basically saying only time will tell if Joshua would be back into the ring. Of course, Frank Warren is Tyson Fury's promoter, and Anthony Joshua is meant to fight Tyson Fury in 2026 this year. So, it is only fitting that Frank Warren will be the one that they're going to ask these questions to. And, Frank gave a very reasonable answer there. And I think, Frank is right. One thing that I want to say is boxing should not put pressure on Anthony Joshua to come back from this, because as I said, this is something that nobody should ever have to deal with. A tragedy like that, an accident like that is something that nobody should ever have to, have to deal with, have to overcome. And so Joshua is in a very, serious situation that he needs to work out himself. He needs help. He needs support. He needs therapy. He will need his family and friends to be around him. I think boxing will be the last thing that would be on Anthony Joshua's mind. Getting in a ring after what happened would be the last thing that Joshua would be thinking about, would be, looking to do. So look, I think Joshua needs some time to process what's happened, and a fight with Tyson Fury should definitely not be something that he should be thinking about it right now. I don't think it matters how much money he will get paid for that. It won't make up for the things that he's going through. I mean, over the time in boxing and over the years, we've seen things happen to fighters inside and outside of the ring, which has altered the way, they fight or the way they approach boxing. I mean, we saw Errol Spence in a similar situation. Although it is similar, it is not the same, because in Errol Spence's situation, he was the only person in that car. He was the only person that went to the hospital. He recovered. It took him a year or maybe a little bit more than a year to recover, Errol Spence, and then he came back to fight Terence Crawford in a fight where, even till this day, people do not give Terence Crawford the due, his credit for beating Errol Spence, because people always say Spence, had an accident, he wasn't 100%, he came back for the money. They take away from Terence Crawford's win, right? So we can see that things that happen outside of the ring and inside the ring sometimes affect fighters, and this is something that's going to affect Anthony Joshua heavily. And if he's to come back to boxing with what has happened, then he has to be 100% ready physically, mentally, emotionally, to be able to return into the ring. And I think, no matter what happened, people will still, if Joshua comes and loses to Tyson Fury, people will still say Joshua was never the same after what happened, and, he should never have fought Tyson Fury. So, it is totally up to Anthony Joshua to decide what he wants to do in this situation, whether he wants to come back or whether he wants to stay retired. I mean, for you guys, and that's the question for you guys, if Anthony Joshua, announces today that he is retired from boxing, what would be your reaction? What would be your response to that? Would you be disappointed that we never got the Tyson Fury fight? Or would you be someone that would say, look, fair play to him, he's been through a lot, and maybe boxing is not the right thing for him to do? Because let's not forget about it, boxing is a very dangerous sport, as we all know. And if you're not 100% mentally there, then I don't think you should get into the ring and have a fight. So Anthony Joshua, if he's not 100%, then I don't think he should get in the ring. So I'm curious, and I'm interested to know what you guys think about this conversation of whether Anthony Joshua should return or should not return. If the Tyson Fury fight never happens again, how do you process that? How do you respond to that? Would you, say this is absolutely fine? Or would you say this is very unfortunate that we never got it? And, people would always look back and go, this fight should have happened 4 or 5 years ago. And it should have, because there was no reason why the biggest fight in British boxing history should not have happened 3 or 4 years ago. There was a bit more politics involved. Tyson Fury, in my opinion, was stalling the fights a little bit. There's a few people within the camps that probably didn't want the fight to happen. It was supposed to happen a few years ago. So it is not always straightforward, as you guys know, and as I know in boxing, there's a lot more things that have to align for fights to happen. So I'm guessing that's why it did not happen a few years ago. And, right now is probably not the time for Anthony Joshua to participate in a fight like that. And as I said, Errol Spence came back, but who knows what he had left in him after that accident that he had to suffer. So look, it's a very serious situation for Anthony Joshua, and Frank Warren is right in saying, only time will tell if Anthony Joshua will come back into the ring. For Anthony Joshua, I mean, we know Anthony Joshua to be someone that is always very curious. He's always willing to learn, willing to develop. We saw that recently he joined Alexander Usyk's team because he felt that his businesses in London was distracting him. So he took himself away, went to Spain, joined a new team with Alexander Usyk so he can concentrate on boxing. So we know that Joshua has always been dedicated to boxing, and he wants to, grow the sport. He wants to achieve more in the sport. So I wouldn't be surprised if after Anthony Joshua overcomes, this situation, that he wants to come back to boxing. I would not be surprised, because he's that sort of character that always wants to challenge himself. And he probably might feel that his friends would want him to continue fighting because that is what they loved. His friends were part of his team who prepared him for fight. So Joshua might feel that his friends would want him to keep fighting. So I would not be surprised, as I said, if Anthony Joshua comes back into the ring and have the Tyson Fury fight or have a few more fights before retiring, because that is all he knows. And Joshua has been a great ambassador for British boxing and for boxing as a whole. And so I would not be, in the slightest surprise at all if Joshua was to come back. But look, I am quite interested to know what you guys think about this. Let's keep it respectful. Let's keep it all about boxing. I know that some people have been online, they've been disrespectful, they've been insensitive about the situation, about the accident. We don't want none of that on this channel. Let's keep it respectful. Let's have a conversation about boxing and how you feel about Anthony Joshua returning or not returning to the ring after what has happened. Get in the comment section and let me know your thoughts.